And to figure out what exactly is going to happen next, it's a great pleasure to be joined by Kimberly Leonard. She's a policy and politics correspondent with Insider. Kimberly, thanks so much. You're there in Florida to join us. So I'm sure Ron DeSantis is keeping a very close eye on all of this. What's it looking like to you? Is it going to be Trump versus Biden, or is someone else going to step in?
I think what we've seen in recent weeks is that Trump has really benefited from the indictment and benefited from the fact that he seems to get more support when other Republicans attack him. So we saw Florida Governor Ron DeSantis go after him, sort of dig against him because he, lost the 2020 election, and dig against him because of the allegations that are in the indictment. But Trump then saw soaring in the polls, and then we saw DeSantis losing in the polls. So there's sort of this contrast that happens that every Republican seems to struggle with, which is, how do you take down Trump? Because it seems like the more he's under attack, the more support he gets.
But let's just look at both the camps. On the Republican side, it's still not a done deal for Trump by any stretch of the imagination. Ron DeSantis has been faring reasonably well. Jury is still out as to who's going to get the candidacy.
Definitely. And I think one thing that probably is heartening to the DeSantis camp is that he has taken a lot of punches from Trump in recent weeks, and he is still in the game. And if you look at Ron DeSantis against, let's say, Nikki Haley or Mike Pence, who will probably announce, or, Vivek Ramaswamy, you still see that DeSantis is the one who comes anywhere close to potentially being second place to Trump.
All right, turning to the Democratic side, when it comes to Biden, do you think, is it a done deal out there? I know there are some people who feel that, well, it's possible that Biden will get the candidacy, but maybe if there was another candidate, they would have a better shot, a more sure-shot chance of beating Trump. Remember, it was actually quite close between Biden and Trump, even in 2020.
One of the benefits Biden has that Trump doesn't have is that even though you see a majority of voters do not want Biden to run again, that's what polling show, you don't have prominent Democrats jumping in to challenge him. That's in contrast to Trump. I mean, Trump is still also, someone that a lot of voters don't want to run, but you have all these Republicans who are jumping in to challenge him, even potentially his former vice president.
I have to say, I'm really curious about the age factor. If it's Biden versus Trump, it's going to be what, 80s versus late 70s, a couple of years here and there. Now, if you compare that, for example, to the age that Clinton was when he became the president, or Obama was when he became the president, or even George Bush, these are relatively, really old candidates. So what's happening? Is the era of ancient Americans running the country back, or are we going to see young candidates out there at some point?
Oh, well, it's definitely a factor that voters are thinking about. We see that in polling. It's one of the biggest factors that people say Biden shouldn't run again. And I hear a lot of questions from voters, even Democratic ones, about, whether Biden is up to the job. And when he ran in 2020, he benefited from the COVID pandemic because he was able to run a virtual campaign. And what was interesting was that if you were there during the primary, which I was kind of following him around, a lot of reporters were questioning whether he could, become the nominee. They really thought it was a done deal that he could not, because, he would be extremely late to campaign events. He would stumble through questions. There would be small groups of people. His age was showing.
Kimberly Leonard, we're going to keep coming back to you for this really fascinating story that's going to build on America all the way through till the 2024 elections. Thanks for being with us.